Wait, is Judah making another video about his life? He's barely started this channel and he already has 12 videos explaining stories about his life. Can you please slow down, Judah? It's starting to get annoying.
Yeah, well, you see, I hope everyone watching this learned something new about me. Thank you. Now enjoy the video. Now, a few of my friends who will be watching know this about me, as well as my family, who may also be watching. I am Mexican American and have been this way since the very day I was born.
Yeah, I totally knew that about you, Judah.
Anyways, my mom is from the state of Veracruz and my dad is from Tlaxcala, which is a city in Mexico not too many people know about. So to anyone who may have been watching my channel and thought I was Uzbek, yeah, no, that's absolutely not who I am.
I don't think anyone watching your videos this far would have thought you were Uzbek, Judah.
Seriously though, it's safe to say I am proud of who I am. And if anyone watching this is also Mexican, please be proud of it and embrace who you are. At the end of the day, we're all different and that's what makes us special. Now, to be completely honest with all of you, I knew I was Mexican from a very young age since the influence around me revolved around this culture. But I guess for a long time, I never truly embraced my culture and kinda just passed it off as a minor detail as to who I was. And it wasn't until I was older that I really began to embrace my culture as a part of who I am and no longer as a passive trait. I love Mexican food, our country's rich history, and the stories that my family has passed down. Now I have no shame in who I am and will not hesitate to express that I am Mexican.
Yeah, you tell him, Judah.
Now here's a story about my mom growing up in Mexico. When my mom was about 7 years old, she went to see her grandma from San Luis Potosí to Costa Rica. She went with her two sisters and her parents in their 4x4 truck. With them were sheep, ducks, and chickens. They were bringing them as a gift to my grandma.
Wow, that must have been quite the zoo ride, and it was probably also very snowy there.
Yeah, well, what do y'all expect? When they stopped at a city called Tulancingo to get gas, something very unexpected happened. Apparently, the animals on the truck all opened their cages, began to leave, and started running off. The family saw this when they were coming back, and then it was a whole thing to try to get the animals back into their cages. My grandparents were mad at my mom and my young aunts at the moment since they thought they had unlocked their cages while they were driving and let them out. My mom says that most likely the locks were just old and weren't sturdy, but even if it was their fault, they were kids. So what are you gonna do?
Interesting story. And yeah, good point at the same time.
Now here's a story from my father's side. He grew up in the state of Tlaxcala as a humble shepherd taking care of his flock. He would care for them daily, bringing them to green pastures and protecting them if there were rabid dogs around the area. However, there was one occasion that really would have turned the tables. He went swimming one day just playing around and splashing here and there until suddenly he saw a water snake. After that, he went running out of the water right back to his flock. Which is why personally, I'm glad I didn't grow up in that area or at that time. Because I don't think I would have survived there for very long. Anyways, I visited Mexico 2 times in my life so far, and they were pretty good experiences to remember.
Bro, it was just 2 times, and you call that a memorable experience?
Seriously though. The first time we visited Mexico, we went to Cancun, which is a well-known coastal city on the Yucatan Peninsula. I'm pretty sure I was about to enter 1st grade when we went during that summer, so I was about 6 or 7 at that time. No joke intended. So visiting the beach, walking through the bustling city nightlife, and the overall oceanside vibe really made everything absolutely worth it. I remember one thing my dad would do constantly was catch these huge grasshoppers that would appear around the city, and he would strike so quickly that they wouldn't have time to fly away. That was definitely my favorite experience of Mexico thus far. The second time we visited Mexico was to evangelize to the village people in little cities there. The first village we visited was the family of one of our church members who were living on a hill, and the family there just so happened to have 3 cats and a dog. And we slept there for a little while. The second village we visited was where my paternal grandparents lived. We also stopped by where my cousins were staying, an older woman's house, and a pastor's house. So clearly, a lot of traveling was done on this trip. And although the previous trip was my favorite, This was also a relatively nice trip to go on since we traversed different Mexican terrain and learned how other people there lived. Now to end off this video, I want to give a special message to our community currently living in the US.
Oh, you do? Well, say on, Judah.
I am certain that all of you watching are aware of the injustices that are happening to our community. People are living in fear of what the future could hold for them, but in these circumstances, we must have hope. I learned to embrace my culture and heritage as a part of who I am, and I express this daily. I learned not to be afraid of who I am, but rather see my differences as something that makes me stronger. And if I learn this, so can you. I encourage viewers to embrace your culture as a part of who you are and not be afraid of expressing it. Also, embrace your families, your homes, your languages, your food, and your countries as a whole. Because at the end of the day, it's our differences that make us stronger. And to quote Sharon Carter in Captain America: Civil War,
Even if everyone is telling you that something wrong is something right, even if the whole world is telling you to move, it is your duty to plant yourself like a tree. Look them in the eye and say, no, you move.
So I encourage all viewers to stay strong in times like these. Embrace who you are and be grateful for where you are right now. Anyway.